Feed the world, you can put it on my tab. Run until my legs go numb. I don't plan on looking back. Anything you need, you can find it at the market. If you
All right, buddies, welcome back to the Fantasy Buddies, and we're doing a great DFS show. We got Zolti again, and he's been nailing those picks on the DFS. He's going to run right through it and give you that DFS for the week. All right, Zolti, you ready to go, son?
Max, thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor, and I appreciate you reaching out to my assistant and setting up this meeting between us two right here.
Yeah, we value your time. Thank you.
Yeah, I've had some pretty good picks. If you've watched the last few episodes, there's been some good picks in there. There's also been a lot of duds, but you're not going to hit them all. A lot of them have been injury, related duds. I picked Daniel Jones last week. Gets his brain scrambled. What are you going to do? I sent him flowers in the hospital, though.
Good. Nice.
So this week, I kind of broke it down a little bit differently. In the past, I've been giving you values. This week, because I was having some real trouble finding values, I went with a high end, a mid-tier, and a value. As always, we start off with the quarterback. I like Herbert a lot. He's 8,000 on FanDuel. DK, the prices are still coming out right now, so I think he'll probably be up in the same kind of level. But he's the fifth most expensive QB, so there's more expensive QBs than him. He's had over 38 passing attempts last week. He's coming off a monster game versus Cleveland. That offense looks really good. I mean, Baltimore's defense is decent, but the stats are a little skewed with playing Bridgewater and Goff so far. So I don't think the stats are as good as they look for Baltimore. They gave up 28 points to Carr, 30 points to Mahomes. This game could be a shootout. So I like Herbert a lot. I like him a lot as a high tier price if you want to spend up for him. A mid tier guy, I love playing this guy. Shit the bed last week, but I didn't recommend him because I didn't like the matchup, but I like him in this one. It's Taylor Heineke versus Kansas City. He's kind of a mid-tier, 7K range price. KC's given up the third most fantasy points this year. The game log, aside from game one versus the Browns, the Chiefs have given up 35 points to Lamar, 39 points to Herbert, 32 points to Jalen Hurts, and 42 to Allen last night as we film this on Monday. It's just a really bad defense, really good to quarterbacks on the other team. And Heineke's had 3 games over 24 points. One of those was a 30-point game, which I recommended. You played him that week. So he's been pretty good. He's got some decent weapons. Fire him up this week if you can. And a value pick this week I like a lot is solely based on the matchup, but it's Carson Wentz at Houston. He's below 7K, which, as you know, it's very cheap for a quarterback on these websites. He's had 3 solid games, around 17 points. He's not going to kill your lineup. Hopefully this is the game that he has the bigger game and it pushes your lineup over the edge here. He's had 30 passing attempts in every game this year, so the volume's there. It's not like they're not letting him throw. He's getting more comfortable in that offense, obviously, and his ankles have healed up apparently. So he's doing, I think he's in for a big one, and Houston hasn't been good on defense. Houston, we have a problem. We suck ass. So a good guy to fire up this week. I'm going to move on to running backs. Same concept, high tier, mid tier, and then some value, because value is very hard to find this week. Very hard. A high-end guy I like a lot is Zeke versus New England. He's over 8K, but he's only the 4th most expensive running back, so there are guys more expensive than him. He's been on fire the last 4 weeks. He's had over 20 carries in the last 2 weeks, so the volume is definitely there. He's had over 20 fantasy points in 3 straight weeks. So this guy, he's scoring a ton. He's getting a ton of looks. He's getting pass catches. New England hasn't been great versus the run. Let's just call it as it is. I don't think their offense will be able to keep up with Dallas in this game. So, negative game script for them equals good game script for Zeke. If Dallas gets up early, that means a lot of Zeke running at him. So I think he's a guy you can play this week for sure. I think he's going to have a big game. A mid-tier guy that I like a lot this week, and Max, you're going to like this one, is Antonio Gibson. He's under 7K. I don't know why. He's priced under guys like Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, Josh Jacobs, and Hilaire. And some of those guys are injured, so definitely a great price to get him at. I don't know why he's so cheap. He had 20 carries last week, albeit he's not that effective with some of these carries, but he's still getting points. Like, he had 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks now. He's getting a ton of goal line work. They love feeding him the ball.
Yeah.
KC's given up the 5th most points to running back this year. They gave up 36 points to both the Browns running backs combined, 29 points to Eckler, and 17 points to Gaineswell for the Eagles. So definitely a team you can run at. He's a good price. Get him in your lineup. Another mid-tier guy I like a lot this week is Darrell Henderson. He's playing the Giants. He's averaged over 15 carries a game, so decent volume. Volume is king in these type of situations. He's a little more expensive than Gibson, but I think he could have just as good of a game. He's had a touchdown in all but one game this year. The Giants versus the running backs aren't that good. No, they've given up 19 points to Melvin Gordon, 17 points to McKissick, 24 points to Elliott. So the matchup definitely doesn't scare me. Henderson or Gibson, 2 mid-tier guys that you can definitely get in your lineup this week. I like them a lot. And then the only value play I could really find, and it's really tough this week, is Darrell Williams. Just because he's so cheap. He's around that 5K range on FanDuel right now. The Hilaire injury obviously opens up some opportunities for him. He had 5 targets last game, and in these situations, targets are what leads these half-point PPRs. So definitely a guy you can play. Washington hasn't been that great versus backs. They've given up a few monster days to running backs. So I think this could be a sneaky shootout game. So if you want to put him with Gibson and just kind of hope for the best, do it. As always, moving on to receivers. If Tyreek Hill is healthy, you play him because Washington's defense versus the pass has been awful. That being said, I don't think he's going to play this week. He's got a knee injury. So there's a couple expensive receivers you could play, but a guy I really like this week, and if you're going to play Taylor Heinicke, is you could pair him with Scary Terry. He's a little over 7K. He's had back-to-back double-digit target weeks. KC's been one of the worst defenses in the league, which we talk about a lot. They're giving up the 10th most points to receivers. Emmanuel Sanders, that is, scored twice on him last game. Devonta Smith had 15 points. Both Charger receivers went for over 15 points each, and Hollywood Brown had over 20 points versus them. So giving up monster game to receivers, and I think Scary Terry is more talented than some of those guys I just listed. So could be in for a really big week. And another expensive guy I like this week is DJ Moore versus the Vikings. He kind of put up a dud last week, probably brought his price down a little bit, but he's still under 8K. So, with the dud last week, that could scare some ownership away. So I think you can get him at a pretty decent value. He's still the best target on that team. And Minnesota's giving up 13. They're giving up the 13th most points to receivers this year, which is a little skewed because they played some bad teams like the Lions and Cleveland, where those games were just kind of stinkers. So that makes their defense look better than it is. But, maybe the defense has turned around, but I don't think so. I still think the volume's there for DJ Moore. So definitely a guy you could play in there. I like Scary Terry a little bit more, but not a ton of value in this slate, especially with the London game, Thursday night game, and Monday night game. It just takes away more players. So you're really condensing that lineup a lot with the amount of players that are available, because there's no Sunday night game in these lineups for the main slate either. So I'll give you some super duper cheap guys. I like to give some super duper cheap. I haven't really hit many, but I did hit one last week. It was Kadarius Toney. The guy went off. He went nuclear. So if you played him, you had a good week. There's just no way you could have. A guy I like this week is Mon-Ra St. Brown versus Cincy. He's super cheap on both websites. He's had back-to-back weeks of 8 targets and 10 points in each game. He's starting to develop into that number 1 receiver for the Lions, apparently. I mean, since he's been mediocre versus the pass this year, they're not the worst team ever, but I think Goff's got to pass to someone, so worth a shot with this guy. He's really cheap. He can help you get some bigger names into your lineup, which I think you need this week. And another super duper cheap guy I like this week, and this guy came out of nowhere versus the Patriots, was Chris Moore. He's playing Indy. He's another free play, man. He's essentially the bare minimum you can get for receivers. He had 5 targets last game, over 100 yards and a touchdown. I think he's got some chemistry with Daddy Longneck. Indy's given up the 12th most points to receivers this year, so not good, but not bad. I think he's worth a shot. One of those plays, it was a long bomb, but you can hope for something similar to that if he's getting more playing time now. Moving on to tight ends. Not going to tell you to play Kelsey, but I'm going to tell you to play Kelsey, especially if Tyreek Hill is not playing this week. I think you absolutely get Kelsey in there no matter what. He's going to be the biggest target for them. He's going to light them up. Get him in there, especially if Tyreek doesn't play. But if you want some cheaper options, I like Hunter Henry a lot versus the Cowboys. He's under 6K. His targets have been increasing. He's had 2 back-to-back weeks of touchdowns. Mac Jones seems to be very comfortable with them, and Dallas is giving up the 6th most points to tight ends. So a possible touchdown coming this week. He had a decent week last week. Not a ton to love at tight ends. I mean, he's cheaper than guys like Hawkinson, who has been, stinking lately, and he has a bad matchup. So definitely a guy you should get in there. If you want to go really cheap at tight end, you can go at Ricky Seals-Jones versus KC. It's the bare minimum for tight ends. He might as well be 0 on DraftKings right now. He had 8 targets last game. He's got some interesting upside in this game, and KC's been absolutely torched by a tight end. So I like this game a lot as far as game stack goes. There's a ton of points to go around with 2 bad pass defenses. So if you want to play a bunch of Washington, a bunch of Chief players, don't hesitate. And it doesn't matter if it's all in one game. I think this game's going to be high scoring. As far as defense goes, I'll give you one expensive one. It's the Rams versus the Giants. I mean, the Giants are just really, really banged up right now. If Jones doesn't play, that definitely opens up the door more for the Rams. I don't know who the hell is going to play for them. Galladay is hurt. Shepard's hurt. Saquon's out. Giants, the offense is banged up, man. I think the Rams are definitely the play this week. If you want to go cheap, and the only reason I'm saying this, I hate the matchup, but these guys are like the 3rd cheapest defense on the slate right now. It's the Bears versus Green Bay. The Bears defense has been pretty decent. They've had back-to-back weeks of 9 points, and as you know, 9 points on defense in these kind of tournaments is pretty good, especially at the price that you're getting. So definitely worth a shot if you want to get someone really, really cheap in there. And this week I'm doing what's called the Tush of the Night. This is going to be what's the best player, the guy you absolutely have to get in your lineup, no matter what. If this one's a little injury dependent, but if Tyreek Hill plays, you have to play him versus Washington. He's going to light them up. Probably another 40-point game. I don't know. If he doesn't play, that Tush moves over to Travis Kelce. Play one of the big 2 on the KC offense. You have to. Washington's been getting absolutely torched in the air. They just gave up 22 points to Callaway, for Christ's sakes. You got to play those guys. Get a game stack, like I said, add some Washington offense in there. And that's all I got, buddies. Good luck this week. I hope this helps out. Like and subscribe, or I hate you.
Like and subscribe, buddies.